I'm Rob Levin, co-founder of Work Better Now, and this is another episode of Working Better Now, where we speak with a fantastic business leader. And today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Kurt Wilkin, who is the co-founder of Hire Better. No relation, just getting that out there right now. Kurt, thanks so much for joining us.
Man, it's a pleasure to be here. Well, you're right. We're not Hire Better Now. We're just Hire Better.
Hire Better, right? We're cousins somehow. Our companies are cousins. Kurt, tell us a little bit about Hire Better, when you started it, and what you guys do.
You know, it's funny. I didn't come from recruiting. I came from professional services, mainly accounting and finance. And I realized that the people are so important to the growth of and success of entrepreneurial companies. But the recruiting industry was dastardly broken. So I bought a small recruiting company, and we've morphed it immensely in the last 13 or so years. And we bring a professional service approach to the recruiting industry, which is virtually unheard of. And I'm sure we'll get into that in a bit. Our niche is working with entrepreneurs as they go to scale their companies from past the scrappy startup phase, and now they're ready to professionalize their organization. That's where we come in. Finding people is, in my opinion, table stakes. It's really understanding who you truly need and assessing your existing team and all the stuff that entails, which is more art than science, that's for sure.
You and I have spoken in the past that we both have that big company, big accounting firm background. And I was just telling somebody the other day that when I interviewed at Arthur Andersen, this is well over 30 years ago, I was telling somebody that at Andersen, they told everybody who you interviewed with that the interviewee, this college student, is your number one priority. Don't pick up the phone. Doesn't matter if it's your best client. So that has stuck with me to this day. It's something that I still think about. I remember 10 years ago saying that we're gonna be competing more for talent than we are for customers. Would you agree with that?
You know, I love the way you said that, because many companies think that they can still post an ad on a Monster, Career Builder, LinkedIn, whatever, and then basically treat their candidates like dirt and treat them like pieces of meat, picking up the resume off the printer as you're going to the interview room or whatever. And you're right. We have to be selling these folks, the top talent especially, to join our organization. So there's definitely a mix of selling and assessing and interviewing.
One of the things I've been speaking about lately is how I think a lot of us improved our customer experience since the pandemic because customer expectations have gone up. And I said, now we have to do that for the candidate experience because they can be choosy right now.
Exactly right. There's at least a couple of our clients who have shifted from a chief people officer, human resource officer to candidate experience, employee experience officer, which is unique. If you can attract, and I don't want to use the word retain, but continue to attract, right? It's like the portal in football, for college football. We have to continue to continually recruit and attract our own candidates.
It's like the advice for married couples, right? Always be dating.
That's right. I used to say, hey, I've got the fish in the boat. I don't need to stop feeding her worms. But the reality is I need to keep feeding her worms.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to Hire Better.
So I've been in professional services most of my career. I started at Ernst & Young's, as you said. And what I found is I love working with people. I love understanding people's businesses. What I didn't like was the actual work, the audit and accounting type work. And I just realized I'm just not a very good accountant. I'm very good with people, and I'm very good with really understanding people's businesses. So that led me on a journey to continue to find ways that I could serve the middle market and entrepreneurs. I started my own finance and accounting consulting firm, which is crazy because, as I said, I'm not a great accountant. But I was also smart enough to partner with people much smarter than me when it came to those traits. So I got to sell and serve clients and really run the team. And they built a service organization that was kick-ass with finance and accounting. So that's really the backdrop. We grew that business to $20 million over a really short 5-year period. We sold it, and then we wanted to find other ways I could support entrepreneurs. And really the recruiting industry is the one that jumped out at me. Because if you think about the things that entrepreneurs need more than anything to be successful, we need capital and we need talent. The recruiting industry is so dastardly broken. There's many ways we could talk about that if you'd like, just the contingent recruiting model, especially for these lower middle market companies. And we bring a professional service approach, and that's really been my mantra, is how can I professionalize and make it more strategic and less reactive.
I do want to talk with you a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit more about what you see in the marketplace and what the right way is to go about it.
So the contingent recruiting model, which is the one where you only pay if the recruiter finds the body, right? It sounds great, but unless you are world-class in being able to screen and vet and hire the right person, you're going to get bad people because a recruiter is paid only when they provide a body. So they're in full sales mode. It often starts with, I need a CFO, and you start canvassing all your contingent recruiters. And the reality is maybe you don't need a CFO. So what I started to do is I call it a strategic look, but what are you truly trying to build? What is this person going to accomplish? What are the other skill sets on your team? If you've got 5 people on your leadership team all doing this for the first time and you're growing 20% per year, you're going to make a lot of mistakes the hard way. So how can we bring in some seasoned folks to be part of your team and fill in some of those gaps? And so really, it's just a strategic look. It's what are we trying to build? What does our future team need to look like in order to achieve that? And what does our existing team look like? And more often than not, we've got a lot of really good generalists that we loved during the early stages. And now we're trying to professionalize our team. And we've simply outgrown, more than a few of them. It doesn't mean they have to go. It just means they're probably not your next level leader. So those are some of the concepts we see and talk about a lot.
You got my head spinning here with so many thoughts. I tend to see that only a very small fraction of small and mid-sized businesses, and I'm not talking about mom and pop shops, even those that are growth minded, there's a small percentage that have that who not how mentality and really are strategic with people, particularly at the higher end, at the executive level. Is that your experience as well?
Yeah, it's hard to have folks who have grown up with the organization be mature enough and smart enough and able to step into those leadership roles as you continue to grow. It can happen. As I said, if 1 or 2 of your people you want to try to promote and grow and see that come to fruition, great. But if you're expecting all 5 or 6 or all of your leaders to grow into magically be chief executive officer, chief revenue officer, whatever your titles are, it's just simply not going to happen. You're setting yourself up for some heartache, and you're setting your employee up for some challenges too.
What's your advice to business owners who are growth minded? How can they be more strategic when it comes to people, when either planning and execution, all of that? When you sit down with a prospective client who's like, I know I need something here, but I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if I want to spend the money now. What's that conversation like?
Oftentimes it's I can't afford to hire the next level talent, but then when we really step back, it's you can't afford not to. And so that's maybe part of the discussion. The other part is many of entrepreneurial companies who are scaling, we often have some strategic plan. We have an idea of what we're trying to accomplish. We don't always. Many of us just fly by the seat of our pants in perpetuity, myself included, in the past. What we don't do, though, Rob, is we don't really think strategically about talent. We have key initiatives that are going to drive that growth. We're going to open a new office in Dallas. We're going to launch a new vertical. We're going to acquire a competitor, whatever. But we don't really step back and say, okay, what does the team need to look like in order to accomplish that? We can't have Rob be our CFO and open our new office in Dallas and be chief cook and bottle washer, which is the MO for most entrepreneurs. We need to bring in people who have done that before. When we start thinking that way, if I can hire some people who've already learned the lessons the hard way to be part of my team, then I won't have to learn them myself. If we also assess our existing team against that future state team, we have some pretty eye-opening ahas that say, Rob's a great guy and he's really good accountant, but he's not my CFO. I need to find either a fractional or maybe a permanent CFO to fill in that gap and coach Rob up to be the CFO of the future. I'm willing to invest in Rob, but I can't have Rob learn all those lessons on my dime.
I'm going to disagree with you, Kurt. I think you can decide to have somebody wear multiple hats, but you're not going to grow as quickly. It's going to cost you more money in 2 ways, probably in mistakes, and then in opportunity cost, because you're leaving just so much opportunity on the table. I mean, look, we just hired a chief revenue officer, which did we have to do it? No, we'd probably still grow 25 to 35% this year, but we know that in order to take that next step, we do have to get somebody who does this, who knows how to do this stuff and has done it before. In order to grow faster, we know we need to bring in some talent.
I think you're exactly right. You can continue to grow. You might eventually plateau and might start running into those operational challenges where the wheels do fall off the bus.
Kurt, what's the pitch for hiring a recruiter versus doing it yourself?
If you do it yourself, you need to make sure that hiring is the best practice. And there's several books out there. Many of the folks in your community have probably read Who, which is by Jeff Smart. He came from the Brad Smart family of top grading. Some great things in that book. And if you truly do think long term and start building a bench of potential employees and you truly scope the role so you understand what you're truly looking for, it can be a best practice. What I found is most entrepreneurs are very reactive. We don't think 3 moves ahead like on the chessboard. We're playing checkers. We need to just move fast. And we have an empty seat and we got to get it filled fast. And so we tend to make hiring mistakes. And then we hire recruiters, contingent recruiters, to help us move faster. And oftentimes those hires are just, as I said, there's somebody that was placed trying to earn a commission and they just don't work as well. What we do is we bring a retained approach. There's other retained firms out there. You've all heard of Korn Ferry or Russell Reynolds and Spencer Stewart, these big firms that serve, much larger companies. We're bringing that same approach to the lower middle market, which is virtually unheard of. But you would retain us, just like you retain Work Better Now, or like you retain your attorneys or your CPAs to do a great quality job, not just to fill the seat, if that makes sense. My argument would be we would save you time. We bring some best practices and basically bring a world-class hiring element to your team on an outsourced basis.
And I'm guessing that results in a better person, right? For that you're hiring.
We think it does, and we've got some
Right.
pretty good stats behind it, like 95% or so retention rate, and some pretty good stats like that. So we think it does for sure.
Yeah. We only met, I think a few months ago. We got introduced by our mutual friend, Rod Kurtz.
Yeah.
And you recently hired one of our WBN professionals, Valeria. Can you tell us a little bit about what Valeria is doing and how you found the process and how it's going?
I've been working with Valeria, basically an EA for our leadership team. And she handles pretty much everything administratively to allow us to do our jobs more fully and to the best of our abilities, which is great, relieving a lot of those matters off of our plate. We have used folks in other locations before. We had a couple of folks in the Philippines from an organization that we really like. Just the time zone is a challenge. Your team is more central time zone. We
Yeah.
love that.
Well,
And we love the process. I talked to Kelly this morning. The process that you guys do is unique. We have a couple of roles we were looking for. One was the EA, one was more of an accounting role. And the first set of candidates for the accounting role weren't at the mark, but we asked you guys to go back, and really quickly the team got going and presented another nice slate of candidates. The way she described it to me was basically 7 to 10 days to provide a slate. And we have a very short period of turnaround, 24 hours or so to consider them. And if we move slow, which is one of the problems for entrepreneurial companies, we don't move fast enough on certain things. You turn them loose into your other clients. So it rewards people to be on top of it. So our team was on top of it. And then we did a nice kind of speed dating interview round with each of the candidates, which was great. We had a couple of nice options, selected Valeria, and hopefully it's a long-term fit. She's doing a great job so far. And I think she likes the hire better team as well.
Yeah, we've gotten great feedback from her. She's thrilled. Having her, what has that enabled you and I guess your colleagues who are also working with her to do?
When I don't get yelled at anymore, but for not having my opportunities in the CRM. So, it's very easy to just pick up my phone and, do a voice memo to Valeria. It helps me transcribe it and many things like that. Managing my schedule, managing my podcasts, which is what she'll be doing soon. So lots of things that allow me to spend more time with clients and less time documenting things.
Right. It's just a game changer. Thanks for sharing. Kurt, what do you like to do when you're not working?
I like to do anything outside. About 2 years ago, I discovered pickleball, which was great for me because I'm a competitive guy, but it's hard to keep playing basketball. I don't have time for golf. I don't really enjoy tennis, but pickleball has been a great hobby for me. Love to go for hikes and be outside. I have 3 boys who've kept me active. They're now older, 23, 21, and 17. But about 3 years ago, I also started coaching again an 8U baseball team. So one of my passions is just pouring into these kids and helping them, build foundations for their lives and for their sport. And 3rd year to do it. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Kurt, where can people find out more about you and Hire Better?
HireBetter.com is a great resource for all of your talent or hiring questions or needs. We're happy to spend time with you going through whatever challenges you might have. At Kurt Wilkin, which is KurtWilkin, is my handle for Twitter, for Instagram, for LinkedIn.
Thanks so much for sharing a few minutes with our community, and look forward to speaking soon.
A pleasure as always.
Yeah. Thanks, Kurt.